Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm 𝙎𝙐𝘽𝙎𝘾𝙍𝑎𝑏. The American victory over the British in the Revolutionary War was not merely because of the efforts of a handful of superstars such as George Washington, for instance. Now, that's not to downplay the brilliant commander-in-chief or others like him, but there were many other men who contributed to the cause of freedom, lesser-known heroes, and one of these was a talented and brash leader from the western suburbs of Philadelphia, a man whose skill on the battlefield earned him the nickname Mad Anthony. He was American General Anthony Wayne. Now, several Pennsylvania towns, including the affluent township just west of Philadelphia on the main line near his birth, are named after the important U.S. military general and patriot who was born in eastern Chester County in 1745, only several miles away from the hills of Valley Forge that would house himself as well as other American patriots some 32 years later. Wayne was raised as an English lad, but became swept up in the American cause of freedom in 1775. Now, he developed a regiment that he would eventually lead in his early 30s, and he would rise to the level of general throughout the course of the war, thanks in part to his leadership over several greater Philadelphia regional campaigns. Of course, one of these was the Battle of Brandywine, which Wayne was heavily involved in, and he was also a key leader during the American encampment at Valley Forge that ultimately would turn the tide of the war. Now, one of the key indicators of the tide turning was a victory not long after the Valley Forge campaign at Stony Point in New York. Mad Anthony led a crucial victory for the Americans over the Brits in a fight that was more than just a military win for the general. You see, he had never forgotten the loss his men took at the Battle of the Brandywine, and he wanted to make the British pay for it. He did so at Stony Point, and it would be one of those critical battles that would spark an American victory in the war several years later. Now, after the war, now President George Washington, who held General Wayne in very high regard throughout the course of the war, elevated him to Commander-in-Chief of the military force. Wayne lived until 1796, several weeks shy of his 52nd birthday, in a death that some may have believed to have been an intentional murder. His body was laid to rest in St. David's Church in present-day Radnor, Pennsylvania on the main line, where it rests to this day. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe. And if you want us to cover one of your favorite moments in history, you can tell us in the comments. Now stay tuned for some new content.